all set with the camera. It is 5:33 a.m. and it's time for the morning routine. My name is Toby. I am 40 years old. I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. But you know that because you've been to my channel before. Or maybe you don't know that. And then this is the first time we're meeting. Let me tell you a bit about how I do that. I do that by minding my sleep. Try to sleep between 7 and 9 hours per night. Last night was a good night. Got about 8 hours of sleep, so I should be feeling pretty good throughout today. I try to mind what I eat. Try to eat within my energy balance. Generally, it's about 2200 calories. I try to eat home-cooked foods, lots of greens, lots of salads, lots of colorful foods. And I try to eat 120 to 150 grams of protein a day from different sources to support my strength goals, my health goals, my muscle maintenance goals. One of my goals is to maintain the weight I have, so to be steady over time, and we seem to be doing pretty well at that at the moment. I do strength training, I do conditioning training, I do mobility training here at home, usually with a kettlebell, usually around this time. So if that's something you're interested in, you can go ahead, check out my channel and subscribe, and we can have the conversations about health and fitness as time goes by. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I do this because I want to feel fit, competent, and capable for whatever life is going to throw at me. And that is going to be quite a lot. If you live as long as I have, you realize that when you become an adult, life just starts tossing stuff at you that you need to figure out how to deal with, or if you're lucky, know how to deal with. And being in good physical shape and good mental shape probably helps deal with the things life might throw at you. That being said, I always like to remind us that we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. And there are enough people out there who want to put us down. So we don't have to do that to ourselves. We can lift ourselves up because it's the person we are today who's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. Good morning, YouTube punk. How's it going? Indeed we are, and it sounds like you are doing so as well. I hope life is well in Texas, and I hope you're doing all right, and I hope you've had a good day, enjoying a good evening, getting ready for a good night of sleep. I am getting the yawns, so I'm going to get started with this morning's workout, and I appreciate you dropping by and chat and saying hello. It's always good to hear from you, and good to know that you're around. Productive day, winding down, very good. You go ahead, wind down, relax, as we're going to get started on the workout, because indeed, friends, the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So today we're going to talk about balancing goals with the impulse to want to do more. Because here's the thing about fitness and doing something that feels good. And I think this comes back to the fact that we don't have that many things in life, in modern life at least, that give us a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. So when we find one, we find something that helps us feel really good about ourselves, we tend to hold on to it, put it on a pedestal, and try to make our life all about that one thing, because that way we can carve out an identity, have something interesting to say at parties, be known for something, and maybe, get very good at it. But sadly, especially when it comes to physical fitness, you need to strike a good balance between your desire to do more and more and more, and the goals you've set yourself. All right. So, for example, my goal is to maintain my weight, plus or minus 1 kilo. And I've been succeeding at that for a long time now. My weight has been steady for a long time, and in terms of my long-term health outlook, that is a very positive thing. At the same time, I know I might be somewhat better off leaning out a bit more. Might improve my long-term health outlook slightly, and it will give me a bit more of a buffer. I've talked about this before. It's easier to stay within a healthy weight range when the weight range itself, right, within a healthy fat percentage, if the fat percentage is closer to the lower end of the healthy standard, so around 15%, give or take. I've always hovered around 20 when I was a teenager. Actually, I was hovering around 25 to 27, so I've always been a bit heavy in that respect. So, what am I going to do? Am I going to adjust the goal of maintaining my weight and try to lose some body fat with a rigorous program that might help me lose the body fat this month or in the next 2 months, and then enter into a training cycle where I'm going to try to keep that weight off, running the risk that I'll have to do more and more, and maybe even burn out a little bit on training. Or do I keep doing what I'm doing, because that seems to be working, and over time try to recomposition my body from the amount of body fat I have to a bit less fat and more muscle, while more or less maintaining my weight the way it is. I guess there are these kinds of questions that health and fitness in a way come down to, right? Not, I feel like doing this right now because I think I'd like to look a certain way before I go on my next beach holiday. But weighing options about your life expectancy, the goals you have for life, and how health and fitness are going to play into that. So yeah, trying to strike a balance between something you obviously are enjoying and want to do more and more of, because you're starting to see results, right? You got into this fitness game, and you are now starting to see all kinds of results. It's easier to walk up a flight of stairs. You've got a bit more stamina. You're starting to see some definition in your body. You think that all of the gains and progress you've had from the beginning of your journey are going to continue packing and stacking on. If you go at this pace or faster, suddenly health and fitness seems easy, and then you hit a snag, right? Because those newbie gains definitely are a thing. And once you've gone through that phase, I'm afraid there's only one answer to continuing to pack on gains over time. And you know what I'm about to say, right? The answer is consistency over time. So, the challenge here is that you've seen some results, and you think that by doing more intensely, more weight, more often, more frequently, you are going to be able to manipulate the outcome in your favor. But here's what is actually going to happen. You're going to burn out on the idea, because no matter how much harder you work, you're not going to get the same results as quickly as you did in the beginning. Now, in order to get the results and to get to that final state of where you thought you wanted to be, you're going to have to show up regularly over time, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, a decade, and you're going to see the results and your effort pay off. And you need to strike a balance somewhere with your ego and your impulses that say, I want more, to the reality of life and the facts, biology and training, that unless you have very specific training goals in bodybuilding, perhaps, or at an athletic competitive level, for whatever reasons, but I doubt you're watching the channel if those are your ambitions. For general health and fitness, maintaining a healthy weight, building the muscle you need to deal with daily life, maybe looking a certain way, right? You don't need to do more, you just need to do the effort, put in the effort over time. So, how do you strike a balance between that? How do you not get carried away? No, by the way, I'm not saying that getting a bit carried away and getting a bit enthusiastic about all of the things that you are doing is a bad thing. In fact, I actually think that's a bit of a good thing. It's good for those 30, 45, 60 minutes in a day that you give the effort you're putting in everything you've got. You lift those weights. You do that run or that bike ride to the absolute best of your ability, you drive those adaptations you need to reach the goals you have. I don't think there is anything wrong with that at all. I think what we need to do, I need to think about, is how we set up a training regime where we can give it all we've got, but then find enough rest, not only recovery days, but also in between longer periods of time to continue to be interested. Continue to be interested in what we're doing. So we don't burn out, because, like I said before, the most important thing is that consistency over time. Doesn't really matter what you look like, because that'll change when you adapt to a healthy lifestyle. And by the way, if you need help getting started from the medical field, whatever that is, right? Health and fitness is incredibly personal. The challenges you might face are likely going to be incredibly personal. So if you've struggled, for example, with weight maintenance for a lifetime and a bit more, and you've tried everything and it's never worked out for you, you go get the help you need. Alright? There are doctors out there who know what they're doing, and they can help you. Sometimes we just get dealt an unfair hand when it comes to our appetites and to health and fitness. Just thought that needed to be said out loud. I'm going to continue with the stretches in a moment, but I'm seeing a few messages there. YouTube Punk still winding down from his productive day. Poor man's Jim, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. So you were working out with Leo the other day, keeping up the challenges. That's amazing. Minetti Spaghetti, thank you for dropping by, saying hi. Hope you're doing well. I appreciate you taking time in the chat to say hello. So, we don't need to be too hard on ourselves when it comes to the help we can get to get healthier and fitter over time, because sometimes personal training, a diet, and discipline just doesn't cut it. Sometimes we need some more help. Don't be afraid to ask for it. Don't be ashamed to ask for it if you need it. It's all good. You focus on you and doing what works for you. And if people have an issue with that, that's a them problem, not a you problem. All right? All right. Good. So that being said, we can try not to burn out very simply by taking breaks, being mindful of what we're doing, but also by understanding that fads are just that, things that are really cool for the moment because everyone's jumping on a bandwagon, and they're usually either not productive or a manipulation of the foundations, which are good sleep, good nutrition, and regular movement. Whether that's exercise or something else, it's completely up to you, that last one, right? Okay. But fads are tempting because as human beings, we are drawn to what crowds are doing. So there's usually some safety to be found in there. But sadly, in the age of modern marketing, crowds can also be manipulated. That's just the way life is today. So in the end, it's up to us to learn enough about what works and what doesn't work to be able to look at something and say, this sounds like a scam. It walks like a duck, talks like a duck. And friends, usually it is a duck, isn't it? It's just the way the world works. So keep that in mind as we go on this fitness journey together, as we are moving through life together, that it's about showing up and doing the work regularly and consistently over a longer period of time. We're going back to Mallorca in April. We were there in April 2 years ago when our youngest started sleeping again, and I decided I was going to whoop myself back into shape. Okay? I can't believe 2 years have passed, and I can't believe how far I've come in my personal health and fitness journey, but here we are. Right, and I've been at this since 2017 with ups and downs for various reasons. And I see pictures of myself from that time, and I see pictures of myself today. And to be very honest, I felt good back then, but I also burnt out on exercise and working out. At that time, I think after 3 years, I think I stuck to a very strict diet for 1,000 days. And then went completely loose. No. When I got married, we had our oldest, and the timetable changed, and it was just harder to stay focused and motivated because, and this is something that people tend to forget, because when you have a baby in the house that interrupts your nights, you're not sleeping. And when you're not sleeping, but you're trying to push yourself to do things, your brain starts to take strange turns and loops. All right? So, I don't think that it was per se that I was done with the type of training I was doing, because I actually enjoyed it very much, and it brought me a lot of my deadlifting technique, squatting technique, pressing techniques, knowledge about living healthy and fit, because I lost 25 kilos in the period that I was training there. That's right. I went from about 102 to about 77. I was really skinny when we got married. Not packing a lot of muscle despite all the training I was doing. But hey, so I know what that's like. But we have long-term goals, and my path to the long-term goal is to have a very simple daily goal, and that is to show up every day for 30 minutes. That's how I know I'm on track and I'm doing well towards my lifetime goal. It's the only point I'll really know if I'm doing the right things for my longevity goals, are when I get to old age, right? And we'll see what the payoff is going to be for all of the effort we're putting in right now. But in the short term, there are little things that I can do that will pay off, that will show me how well I'm doing. Am I capable of going on holidays? Thanks, Eddie. I'm doing fine, and I appreciate you checking in and asking. It's good to hear that you are doing well. Yeah, he was a great guy. But man, sleep well. I hope you have a good night's sleep. Probably have a lot of work to do. Howdy, folks. Yeah. So good. I'm going to go into a deep sit, deep squat. Work on that squat for a moment and just roll around, stretching those muscles, working on the ankle mobility. That is just an important part of squatting and the range of motion that I want to have. Okay, so striking that balance to make sure we don't burn out, because if you're in it for long-term health, right, you're making a lifetime commitment. It's like getting married or having kids. You can't just get up and quit and walk away. You're there through the good and the bad, through thick and thin. You and this body, you and this mind, you and these emotions have a long ride ahead of you. So how do we make sure we're ready for that? Well, here's the thing. You're never ready for life, whatever it throws at you. Different circumstances, different backgrounds, different windfalls, different choices might set you up a bit better for what may come, which I hope are all kinds of positive things for you. But generally, life is not something you can prepare for, all right? It is just going to happen and unfold the way it unfolds. And usually when things are steady for long enough, you can expect a bump in the road. I expect a bump in the road every 7 years, big or small, right? So over the course of the next 40 years, let's make that 49 years, I'd expect another 7 big bumps. And that's what I plan my life around. So I want to be healthy and fit and in shape for 7 of those bumps. I would like to have the financial stability to deal with 7 of those bumps. I would like to have the mental acuity to deal with 7 of those bumps. I would like to have the support network emotionally through friends and family and community to deal with those bumps. So, not getting burned out on our goals, specifically our health and fitness goals, requires us to simply control some of our impulses. And controlling impulses is one of the hardest things for us to do in life, all right? So there's no shame, there's no fear, there's no guilt, and if that is something that we need to learn, it's just something that we need to work towards over time. Because it's a very good impulse to want to do more of something that feels good, right? You lifting those heavy weights, and afterwards you feel a bit of euphoria having deadlifted 100 kilos or more 10 times in a row. You feel strong, you feel powerful. 2 days later, you want to do it again. But in order to build that strength and to go beyond that, you need to work on your recovery. You need to work on your volume and your technique, not on lifting the max. You can lift, right? So you need to control that impulse to want to go as heavy as you want to can, and to go to the max because you did it last time and felt really good. It's not going to feel as good this time around. In fact, you're likely going to get injured if you're not smart about your training. So instead, you want to have a protocol and a program that you're working towards. And if that 100 was the end point of some sort of program that you were doing, all the power to you. But that means that you then need to take a step back and enjoy the program you did. We're going to move on to some core work, by the way. Enjoy the program you did. Celebrate your win, because winning that new personal record, pardon me, is quite a thing. And then reset your sights and start working towards that new goal with discipline and rigor, just like you did work your way towards this goal. And sure, once in a while, it's good to push yourself. But don't get carried away by your own success, not in fitness, not in your career, not in your academics, not in sports, not in the dating game, not in finances. And tell you stories about people who started to do really well with money and suddenly thought they were hot shit financially. And then a year later, they were worse off than they'd ever been, because they didn't understand the toxic dynamic they created for themselves. So this logic of not getting carried away, friend, applies to more than just health and fitness. But since we are talking about health and fitness this morning, that's where we're going to put our focus. All right? So you just keep that in mind. Keep your head cool. Stay focused on the day and on what the day brings. And people start telling you that you have to, you should. This is the new thing. It's going to be the best. Well, let's see if it's still around in 10 years. All right? And if it is still around in 10 years, 5 years from now is as good a time to start it as right now is. All right? Just keep that in mind. Some more side planks. So we have to work on that core stability, as well as many other things. Hey MLB, good morning. Thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I hope you are doing all right. We're doing a little bit of core work at the end of the workout this morning as I'm getting ready to grab my coffee, and I appreciate everyone dropping by in the chat and saying hello. So I'm going to just march in place with 20 kilos on one side and then 20 kilos on the other side. As there, you feel that weight trying to pull me in one direction, and my core working hard to stabilize. Simple exercise, very effective. Sometimes I think I should just go for a stroll around the block. I think that might be fun with a kettlebell. I also think I'd get tired halfway down the street. If you think you're not building core strength by doing something like this, well, you're entitled to your own beliefs. I can just tell you that you are mistaken. It's a good one. Yeah, it is. And if you start off with light weights, I started off with 8, worked my way up to 20 over time. Let your body grow stronger, get used to it. Again, having a strong core, this girdle that runs around here, has helped me out more ways than one in life. And I think I always talk about that one example where I was carrying one of my sons down the stairs at the daycare, and at the bottom of the daycare stairs I missed a step. So a lot of things happened at once. First of all, I took a huge step down and nearly dived forward, but luckily my leg was able to catch that. I was able to stay upright with 10 kilos trying to drag me in one direction, because I am convinced, because of the core work and the strength work I'd been doing with kettlebells. And I hadn't been doing anything special, but my body was just used to staying upright with a weight, trying to pull it off balance. So, you'll find different examples in your day-to-day life of the kind of training that we're doing, and you'll see that it works and that it brings us a lot, and that because this is not about the way I look but about the way I feel, I'm able to focus on building functional strength that helps me with the day-to-day and keeps me in pretty good normal shape. Because here's the other thing that we sometimes forget. There are people like me online, on Instagram, and on YouTube that make content about health and fitness that is for the average shaped body, right? This is what a normal 40-year-old body more or less looks like. Not ripped, a bit soft around the edges, a little bit of excess weight because of a lifestyle in the world we live in, and healthy overall, because I've done the tests, I've seen the markers, right? Fit can climb 10 flights of stairs without suffering, without stopping, can go on hikes in the mountains, can go on 4-hour hikes in nature, can lift up my children, can fend for myself, can run for an hour without stopping. So all in all, pretty fit and healthy. But I don't look like the people you see on the videos and the posts that have millions of views and millions of likes. You know what I'm talking about. Go ahead, hit like, help out the stream, help out one of my shorts. But you understand what I mean. So when we think of a fit and healthy individual, by the way, training's done for this morning. When we think of a healthy and fit individual, we think of the influencers we see and the creators we see online who get paid and who live to be fit and healthy and look a certain way. Now, that could be a standard that you aspire to, and you can work towards that. And that's completely fine, because health and fitness is very personal. But for most of us, right, simply getting healthy, getting into a good shape where we are capable of doing the things that daily life demands of us without help, without feeling like we're exerting ourselves, where simple day-to-day things like taking a walk, lifting something heavy off the ground, stowing something heavy overhead, taking a short sprint, fending for ourselves is possible. Well, that's got nothing to do with the way we look. And I think a lot of these people are able to sell their programs because of the way they look. But that doesn't mean that it's the right program for you, because it may have worked for them. Don't know if they know what they're talking about, but they are creating content because they look a certain way, and we respond to the way they look by thinking that they know what they're talking about. So just keep that in mind as well when it comes to controlling your impulses. Friends, thanks for dropping by and watching, for being so active on the chat. YouTube Punk, Eddie Spaghetti, Poor Man's Gym, Mel B. I really appreciate it. Good to have heard from you this morning. Thanks for making me smile, for being interested, for letting me know what your progress is, what you're doing. For anyone else, my name is Toby. I'm 40 years old, and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep, trying to get between 7 and 9 hours on a night, minding what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance. It's around 2200 calories on a day. And I try to get in 120 to 150 grams of protein in that day. I do strength training, conditioning training, mobility training. Generally, I like to spend time with people I love and care about, do things that I enjoy, and try to live a relatively stress-free life. So hey, that's something you're interested in. Like this video, check out my channel, maybe subscribe, and if you're going to watch one of my long or short form videos, go ahead, stick around for a minute. One of my goals this year is to get my watch time up to 3,000 hours. And we're quite far away from that. But I know you might help get me there. That's all I have for you, friends. Remember, we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. And the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. Korea, thank you. Good to see you here. And I always wonder if you are watching or not, so it's nice to hear from you this morning. And I appreciate you starting your day with me as well. I hope all is well where you're at in the world. Take care, friends, and I will see you tomorrow for some more kettlebell strength training.